Alright, so welcome to the module on high-risk concussion exposures. I'm Jeremy Kent. Congrats, you've made it. This module unifies many of the previous concussion details. This is where we put it all together. Throughout the modules, we've discussed the nitty and the gritty of the details of high-risk positions. The high-risk positions being the defensive back, running back, and wide receiver. We've discussed the impact partner and the positions that are high risk to be the impact partner, which are the defensive back, running back, and linebacker. We've also discussed high-risk plays, with research showing the mid-range passing play being higher risk, and we also know that special teams kickoff and punt returners incur more concussions. These different data points, position, impact partner, and mid-range passing plays seem like they all should be associated, and this is with good reason, because they all are associated. Recent research has calculated two new concussion characteristics that unify high-risk positions, impact partners, and mid-range passing plays, and we're going to talk about them now. Football is like a game of chess. The field is the game board, the players are the pieces, and each play is a chess move. As in chess, each concussion that occurs has multiple data points, including characteristics of the player, details of the play, whether it be mid-range passing play, deep ball, or running play, and field location. These data points can be calculated to show an association, and through this association, it can help us predict future concussions. Field location is one of those data points, and if we overlay on the field the location where each concussion occurred, a picture begins to emerge. When concussion location is specifically calculated based on where it occurred on the field, we find that concussions occur more frequently in some areas of the field than others. As such, the field can be split up into field zones, and one field zone confers a higher relative risk of an SRC than all others. But first, let's talk about how the research defines the field zones. The field zones are based on the line of scrimmage, which in this slide is yellow, in case you missed it. There are four field zones: the line, the backfield, the middle defense, and the deep defense. The field zone defined as a line spans 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to 5 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage. This definition was chosen for several reasons. When the quarterback takes a snap under center, he'll take 3 to 5 steps back, which takes him to about 5 yards behind the line. In the shotgun, he's lined up 5 yards from the line. The offensive line players are considered receivers 3 yards forward of the line. Additionally, the researchers found that the 5-yard increments are easier to measure and tabulate. This definition of the line is important because it sets up the rest of the field zones. The backfield is defined as starting 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and stretching to the offense's end zone. The middle defense is defined as starting 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and spanning 15 yards down the field. The deep defense is defined as starting 20 yards from the line of scrimmage and ending in the defense's end zone. Utilizing these field zones, a study analyzed all in-game concussions that occurred over 10 years in a college football program and determined the relative risk of concussions based on all the plays that occurred in each zone. This study found that SRCs occurred in the middle defense significantly more than all other field zones. The middle defense is defined as starting at 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and spanning 15 yards downfield. This means that the risk for concussion is greatest in this middle defense zone, which makes sense since we know that high-risk positions are the defensive backs, running backs, and wide receivers. The high-risk impact positions are the defensive backs, running backs, and linebackers, and the high-risk plays are the mid-range passing plays. All these positions and plays operate in the middle defense field zone. As such, the middle defense is a location on the field with the greatest risk for concussion. To have the greatest chance of spotting a concussion, your focus should be in this middle defense zone. Now, we're going to switch gears and discuss one final detail on identifying high-risk concussions. I'm going to refer back to the chessboard analogy.
One final detail on identifying high-risk positions. I, along with colleagues, investigated the SRCs that occurred during a game over 10 seasons. 42 SRCs occurred over this time period.
We've discussed high-risk positions on the chessboard and now high-risk field locations, but what about movements? The action on the chessboard, the piece or player position in movement. The movement of the player is what dictates play. I think all would agree that the most important player on the field is the one with the ball. And now, over the next following slides, we'll discuss why the person with the ball might be the most important concussion detail of all. When we as medical staff are covering a football game, we inherently follow the ball. It's where the action is, and it's the most enjoyable part of the game to watch. But should we be watching the ball if we're working a game looking for concussions? Instead, should we scan other areas of the field for concussions? Wide receivers and defensive backs are high risk, but they're not always part of the play. Should we look at other positions instead of the ball? I have good news for those who like to watch the game, which is probably all of us. The relative risk for concussions to occur at the ball is significantly more than for concussions to occur away from the ball. In fact, the primary ball carrier or primary tackler had a 16% increased risk of getting a concussion versus those players that were not either the primary ball handler or tackler. Now you might be asking yourself, or me, what does it mean to be at the ball? Well, the research defined two ways a player could be at ball. They were either the primary ball handler or primary tackler. The primary ball handler is the one who is concussed on that play. The primary tackler is a player that tackled the ball handler and then was concussed on the play. Either one of these players could have had an SRC and were considered at ball. All other concussions that did not occur with either the primary ball handler or primary tackler were defined as occurring away from the ball. By following the ball, you will identify more concussions. The data also points to the at ball as being what we call a data point of action. It unifies the other characteristics, and when plugged into multivariate analysis, along with high-risk player position, high-risk impact partner, and high-risk field zone, these four details show a significant association. There is a caveat. This same study found that special teams did not hold the same relative risk. Special teams play showed the opposite results, with more concussions occurring away from the ball than at the ball, with a 3 times increased risk. This, however, was not significant, but the conclusions remain that during special teams, the observer should expand their field of view and search the entire field for concussions. The next video is a good example of a special teams SRC. I'll give you a hint. It's not at the ball. See if you can train your eye to follow the play without looking at the ball. Here's the video. The kicking unit player was hit and fell to the ground. He was then hit again for good measure. He was very slow to get up. This is an example of a special teams player running at full speed and the opposing player blindside blocking them. Because of the more frequent concussions that occur away from the ball, some sideline docs have recommended assigning spots on the field to catch potential concussions during special team. With the many medical eyes that are watching the field, the medical team can designate each person a portion of the field to spot for concussion. This would potentially catch more concussions sooner, but you'd have to take turns watching the ball. When player position, play incidents, and offensive schemes are combined, a recurring theme occurs and a narrative can be written to describe the field in terms of concussions. This composite of evidence divides the fields into high-risk zones. The field zone with the highest relative risk for a concussion to occur is the middle defense. The middle defense extends 5 yards from the line to 20 yards from the line. Having knowledge of high-risk zones will make your job a little easier as you view the entire field of play. No one person can see every player-to-player interaction, so the high-risk field zones allow you to key in on areas of the field where concussions are more likely to occur and warrant more attention. The detail that we are most happy with because we get to justify watching a ball makes the most sense. This detail is also probably the most important one. It's a data action point and unifies all the others. Concussions that occur at the ball have a 16-fold increase versus concussions that occur away from the ball. So yes, you can watch the game and still do your job. However, don't forget that SRCs during special teams occur more frequently away from the ball. Scan the whole field during special teams play. This concludes this module. please click on the header bar to either proceed to the next module or return to the main page.